Yeah. Yeah, okay, now we're good. Oh, I see what you were saying. Well, now we got the 1080p.
You all know the target.
Still will look better. You know, because PS5 will be in 19K.
The dominant.
How do we even know the girl will be among us?
Our kind do not question orders, we follow them.
Chocobo Wars, let's go.
Sergeant, let's summon their icon.
Icon? That thing's a bloody mountain.
Who the heck is creative what?
Our foe will not relinquish their mother crystal easily.
We got doggos.
To fight.
You should not be out of doors. We have discussed this.
Out of doors?
Come, Joshua. Your father will be expecting us.
I am Joshua's shield. I'm sworn to
Oh,
protect.
white chocobo.
What do you mean you refuse? Did you not pledge your sword to our cause?
Man, he looked semi-mad.
What does it matter? It was the Dalmex who drove back the Crusaders in the Battle of the Twin Realms, was it not?
Without the blessing of the Mother Crystal, we cannot defend our realm from the spread of the Blight.
So, they sent in the Dragoons. Imperial Vipers. Do they really mean to invade us?
It's the Archduke's son.
Phoenix.
Joshua! Stop this!
Second icon of fire. But that's impossible. The legacy of the crystals. Has shaped our history. For long enough. I'll kill you. If it's the last thing I do.
Okay, so... So, we don't really know what the premise is yet, but I like the idea of going back to, like, crystals and summons. Like, it seemed like it was really based around, like, the summons. Like, the summons have a big deal in it. And it's back to, like, old-timey soldiers and armor. Like, it feels a lot more Final Fantasy, which I really like, because part of the reason 15 turned me off so much is that it didn't feel like Final Fantasy at all. It felt like cool bros trying to be in Final Fantasy, you know? Like, there were parts of it that felt like Final Fantasy, but for the majority, it didn't feel like Final Fantasy. This feels like a return to roots, in a way. So that I like. Somebody was saying that the combat looked very 15-ish, which would turn me off quite a bit, because I do not like 15's combat in the slightest. But I feel like I disagree. Like, this part right here... That ain't it. The part where he got It was later. Oh, we gotta watch this again. Look at how angry this guy is. 0 out of 10 anger. Look.
Mean you refuse?
It's like, I hope the characters look a bit more convincing, because I am not convinced this guy is angry.
Did you not pledge your sword to...
He's like, oh my god. Anyways, where was the part where he got this part? Yeah, so you see how he like gets hit and then like counters? I mean, certainly that could just be like Final Fantasy 15 where you're holding down a button and it works, but to me it looks a bit more involved. It looks like they're going a bit more action-oriented.
So, they sent in the Dragoons.
You know? And like the jumping in and out definitely looks Final Fantasy 15-ish. And the part back here where he like jumped to that enemy, this looks like you're straight up playing Final Fantasy 15. This part, like the jump back and then the jump in for the kill, like that looked like, that looked very Final Fantasy 15-ish. But the other fights not so much. So I don't know. We'll have to see. There was another part that looked very Kingdom Hearts-like almost. This part, like the air. Actually, it almost looked more like Devil May Cry-ish. That looked very Devil May. Ooh, that's scary. That looked very Devil May Cry. You got like this aerial combo, and then knocked him down to the ground to continue the combo, and then there's this big fist, almost like Nero. Like that whole part looked very fun, Devil May Cry-ish. Also, the Malboro was cool. So yeah, I don't know what to think. I think it looks cool. I think the music sounded cool. The story didn't really grip me too much yet. They were kind of like, it kind of reminded me of Final Fantasy 12, which me personally, I'm not a huge fan of. Like, oh, the legacy of our warriors. Like, I don't care. But there was the one part where they were talking about some kind of like disease, and the crystal was defending against that, and so that sounded more interesting to me. But yeah, it looks cool. I don't have much else to say about it because there's not a ton to really go off of, but I expected it to be soonish. I didn't actually expect the Final Fantasy 16 trailer yet just because they're so focused on the remake, but I was starting to think like, well, they don't really have any other big projects for PS5 other than that Nameless thing. I don't know if they've talked more about that yet. But they have that new IP. And then this, I guess, and then the remake. So, yeah, I guess it makes sense. But I think it looks cool. The music was good, too. So, overall, I think it was neat. I'm excited to see more. I also, what do you guys think of the main character here? I actually kind of like his look. Obviously, insert all of Square Enix's characters look the same comment here. But I do like the look of this character. Like, something about him. I like him, just me personally. Is he going to be interesting and not just a carbon copy of another character? That remains to be seen, but me personally, I think he looks cool. I kind of like the kid character too. This part was neat. Like that's a photo op right there. That should be a wallpaper right there. Someone make that a wallpaper. You got the chocobo staring at you and him looking at. That's a nice picture right there. But yeah, I thought he looked cool. I thought in general it looked cool. But I hope the combat is different enough from 15. Not even just because I don't like 15's combat personally, but because it just needs to be different. Like if they're gonna go away from the turn-based combat and go more towards action, then they need to make sure it's unique every time. You know, because even back in the turn-based days, they made sure to make it very unique each time. If they're going to start copying off of 15, it's going to get real stale real fast. It already is stale. They already did multiple DLCs for 15, so like it's time to move away from that. You got to do something different. It can't be Kingdom Hearts and it can't be Final Fantasy 15. It's got to be something unique to itself. If it's more Devil May Cry-ish, then that's fine. But a lot of people are probably going to hate that because they don't play Final Fantasy to play Devil May Cry. But hey, they've already made the decision that they're going with action RPGs from now on. I just want it to be more unique and I need there to be a reason for me to want to purchase this game. So far, the only thing that's really sticking out to me that makes me want to purchase this game is the summons. Like the fact that the summons are a big part of the story. That's interesting to me. I like the idea of like summons being main characters and like fighting these like Titan things. And this, I guess this little boy is like Phoenix or something. And that's like a big part of the story. And then there's this other crazy fire actually, I think the kid was this thing. I'll have to watch it again. I didn't hear exactly. Is that Ifrit? I guess it's Ifrit. Crazy version of Ifrit. But yeah, I like the idea of like implementing the summons into the story. That makes it feel more Final Fantasy to me, and it's something unique and different. So many of the other games had like summons be implemented in ways, but this one really feels like they're like making the summons a big deal. So I like the idea. I hope they expand on that. And I think that was pretty much it. What's this part at the end where he like transforms? I kind of missed that.
I'll kill you.
Is that just another character? Or is it him getting older? I guess maybe it's him getting older? Yeah, he's got the earring. You can see his earring is still in. So that's him getting older. That kind of reminds me of Final Fantasy 15, where it goes forward in time. I don't really like that. I like the game to take place at the same time so I can follow along easier and get more attached to the characters and their personalities, because over time they could just change and be different people. But hey, I'm not knocking it yet. He looks really cool. I mean, I like the older version of him. Looks cool. Also, title card. Got to look at the title card. That's cool. It looks like Phoenix versus Ifrit, I guess. Is that what that is? So that's an interesting concept. And that seemed to be what was happening in the trailer, too. It kind of looked like they were fighting at one point. So, interesting. I think they're coming up with some interesting ideas. And, again, I can't stress it enough. I already like the premise better than 15. Like, 15 just did not feel Final Fantasy. It felt like a different game that they put Final Fantasy's name on. And then they inserted stuff to make it seem Final Fantasy, like chocobos and stuff. Like, this feels like the core of it is Final Fantasy. It feels like back to the old-timey Final Fantasy ways. You know, the roots are there. That's my point. The roots are there. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of this for sure. I'm excited to see what they come up with. And who knows? Devil May Cry Final Fantasy 16. Let's go. I'm ready.